right, we are online and live on the Edge television broadcast, Henry.
Great.
Well, welcome to the show, and obviously, this is your first time on the Edge. Let's get right to it because we only got you for about 45 minutes here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on.
Okay. I'm 68 years old. I'm a Canadian. I'm an assimilated Jew. That means I'm an ethnic Jew, but I identify with European Christian culture. And I've got a PhD in English literature. I've started writing my website, henrymakow.com, where I've been exposing feminism and the New World Order approximately 18 years ago. And I've put out 4 books based on material on my website.
Wow. Hey, when you talk about feminism, I think Rush Limbaugh coined the term feminazi. Would you put them in the Nazi category?
I put them in the communist category, actually, because you can trace a direct line from the American Communist Party to second wave feminism. Mm-hmm. Most of the second wave feminists were red diaper babies. Their parents were communist Jews.
Red diaper doper babies?
That's right. Most of them are communist Jews. Feminism is a communist movement designed to do what communism always wanted to do, which was destroy the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm. Doing a good job of that.
Absolutely.
Not much left of the nuclear family these days. Right now, the typical family is a freak show, man. I mean, let's get down to some things about feminism, Henry. Why is it that feminists are so damn ugly?
Well, they've harnessed the political power of girls who couldn't get a date on Saturday night. Uh-huh. It's quite a few of them, the ugly ones, and so they realized that these women had political power. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. People will, convince people that they've been wronged and they're oppressed and they're getting a bad deal, and you can pretty well convince them to do anything. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty easy to convince people that they're not responsible for their own fate.
Mm-hmm. By the way, if for the people watching the show right now, Henry, what mixed drink would you advise them to take as we continue our conversation?
What mixed drink?
Yeah, would you consider like a peach shake up or?
Honestly, I'm drinking coffee.
Okay. All right. Well, I usually say I got a cup here, but I never tell the folks what's in there.
Okay.
Sometimes I need something a little stronger in coffee. You know what I'm saying? All right. So listen, we're talking about feminazis coming out here, but listen, when I'm saying ugly, I'm talking about Kathy Griffin ugly. She looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, and you got that Samantha Bee. You've got all these, and they're all hideous. It's like they really can't get a job, so they become comedians, but usually they're not even funny. So how does feminism tie into the actual Illuminati? Is it like a branch?
It's a symptom. The goal of the Illuminati is to destroy, basically to re-engineer society, and they proclaimed their goal very clearly in the Protocols of Zion. They said they're going to undermine every collective force except our own. And if you look at what they're doing, the 4 collective forces that define human identity are race, religion, nation, and family. So those are the things that they're trying to destroy. And this whole attack on gender, this whole effort to supposedly empower women at the expense of men, to normalize homosexuality, to normalize transgenderism, to make men and women, to erase femininity and masculinity, erase gender qualities, and then erase the way men and women interact. this is all designed to destroy the family, which is one of the four things, the collective forces they need to undermine in order to re-engineer us as their slaves.
So is there a deep, dark conspiracy? I mean, we euphemistically say the Illuminati, and one of the few words you can actually spell backwards. Right there's a problem right there. But I mean, is it like a group of people? Is it like people around a Ouija board or a casket or some porn site or
absolutely.
What?
It's a deliberate conspiracy. It's essentially the mainspring of this conspiracy is the central banking cartel, and they issue our medium of exchange as a debt to themselves. So, we are all banking with the Rothschilds, but our governments are guaranteeing this debt. In other words, the Rothschilds extend credit to our governments and to our banks, and we're essentially, our wealth is a credit that they've extended to us. Now they want to. Essentially, everybody is working for the Rothschilds, directly or indirectly. The central banks control most corporations. They control the media. They control education. We have no idea, but we live in a de facto communist country. The West is communist because I define communism as a monopoly over everything by the central bankers. Now you can see this. You can see this taking place when you have corporations taking political stands on issues like homosexuality, which less than 50 years ago was recognized as a developmental disorder. But now all the corporations are pushing it. Now, how would that happen if the corporations were really independent?
Yeah,
they're all controlled by the banks.
Yeah, I'm not a friend of the banks, and one of the main problems I have with the banks, and the question I have for the banks, is why do they always chain their pens to the desk? What kind of sense does that make? Who would go to a bank to steal a pen? I don't get it. But so that's always kind of made me mad, Henry, and so I always figured there's a conspiracy based on that. But here, just recently, though, what do you think about the Supreme Court that voted in favor of the cake maker?
Yeah, well, obviously, Donald Trump has thrown a monkey wrench into the globalist plans, and so have the other so-called populist and nationalist leaders in countries like Hungary, Poland, and Italy. And that's the point I want to make. The Illuminati agenda seems to have divided itself into two house teams. It's a house league. There's two teams. Right. There's the communists on the one hand, which is George Soros and people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And then there's the Zionists, people like Donald Trump and all your so-called nationalists. So we're getting a bit of a reprieve from communism, and there looks like there's a real, struggle going on. But that's only because there's been a schism in the Jewish political agenda, probably going back 50 or even 100 years between the Zionists and the communists. And it's this battle that we're seeing played out. Trump is definitely a Zionist pawn, but at least he champions. At least he represents resistance to the globalist agenda, the communist agenda.
Yeah. Well, this is not a gay bashing show, but I'm just going to ask a question that came in. Do you think, this is from one of our viewers, do you have to be a homosexual to get into the Illuminati? Is it like you got to be a card carrying member?
I don't think you do, but I think a great many of them, if not most of them, are probably homosexuals.
Are they pedophiles? What is this Pizzagate? What is this child stuff keep coming up? I mean, it's like always on the peripheral.
I don't have any inside knowledge, but from what I can see, I think pedophilia is part of their agenda, That's why you're getting sex education, and which is basically grooming children for sex before puberty. And I think pedophilia is definitely something they engage in, because you have to realize they're Satanists, so they do evil to show their devotion to their god Lucifer, and molesting a child, you can't get much more evil than that. But we have to understand that this world is run by people who are deliberately doing evil and who deliberately want to undermine society. And I believe everything we've heard about Pedogate is true, and it's kind of disappointing that that Trump hasn't done anything to expose that.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me he's got kind of a full plate there, Henry. But let me ask you something. What was that island that everybody says that Bill Clinton kept jetting off to? Was it
Epstein's Island? It's like that. It's this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, as your listeners probably know, was probably a Mossad agent, and all the people that went to that island were probably filmed molesting children, including Trump. So that's how Trump is controlled by the Zionists.
Now you're not one that subscribes that there's a Zionist behind every rock, do you?
No, there's a communist behind every rock.
Well, as long as it's not one of them ugly feminists behind every rock. I mean, if it is, they all stay back here. Do us all a favor. All right. So, is there mass satanic possession emanating from the bowels of the Illuminati structure?
Yeah, I think our society is already satanically possessed.
Well, give me an example.
And I think the objective is to induct society as a whole, Western society for sure, into the Illuminati, which is a satanic cult. But you have to understand the satanic cult. I mean, they don't like us. That's not why they want us in their cult. Well,
here's news.
The satanic cult exploits its own members by making them sick and corrupt. And so that's that's what they see in us. And that's why they're constantly making us, perverting us and corrupting us, and we're using things like pornography and God knows all the things they put in the food. And the pharmaceutical industry is a $1.2 trillion industry. I mean, we're very profitable as long as we remain sick, and as long as we remain perverted, we are not likely to put up much resistance. So the way I see it is, all of Western society has become a satanic cult, and just anecdotal evidence of that is, I mean, you hear people talking about God. God has almost been abolished as from social discourse.
Yeah.
But what is God but the intelligence that created the universe and created us and must have a plan for us.
Yeah, well, I got a plan for them. I'm going to bust them in the mouth. Henry, give me an example of mass satanic possession emanating from this Illuminati.
Well, I mean, look at popular music. I mean, I avoid it, but I mean, look at Miley Cyrus. Look at the kind of obscenity.
What's wrong with her tongue? She put her tongue on a stretcher machine. What's that tongue flipping out there? Yeah. She's like a guy on Kiss, man. They go snappy looking.
And yet when she does that, the media, applauds her. I guess we're old enough to know that 20 or 30 years ago, you behaved like that, and you get the Roseanne Barr treatment, right?
Yeah.
You're banished.
Yeah.
But now the people that get the Roseanne Barr treatment are the people who's like Roseanne Barr, who just made a small error in judgment, and she apologized immediately.
Hey,
it's ridiculous.
Did they kill Anthony Bourdain?
I think they did.
And what was his crime? Making a bad pizza?
Well, who knows what was going on? But he came out in favor of the Palestinians, and God knows how he slipped up. Same with Kate Spade. God knows what they did. I suspect that they were killed because the Illuminati were afraid that they were going to be exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm all about exposing the dark forces. How deep is the deep state? And is the election of Trump the only reason we even know the deep state exists?
Well, I define the deep state as all the mechanisms by which the central bankers control society. The main mechanism are the intelligence agencies who work directly for the central bankers. And as I said, the goal of the central bankers is to leverage their control of credit, whereby they do something that we could do for free, which is create our own medium of exchange. They create our medium of exchange as a form of debt to themselves, and they charge us interest. Right. And then they're going to enslave us by saying, "Hey, you've got to pay that back." But they created that out of nothing. Mm-hmm. So they're feeling vulnerable, so they want to leverage that into a kind of world police state, the new world order devoted to Satan, and the intelligence agencies are one of their main instruments. But the media, the education system, think tanks, Freemasonry is a huge part of their system of control. Mm-hmm. And, Freemasonry is Kabbalism. The central bankers are all Kabbalists. Kabbalism and Illuminism are synonymous, and Satanism. Those mm-hmm. three terms are synonymous. Mm-hmm. So all the levers they use to
so are you
control
saying,
society.
Are they Sabbateans? That's what I want to know.
Pardon me?
Are they Sabbateans?
Yes, Sabbatean Francus is how the Illuminati originated. Mm-hmm. Back in starting in 1666. Mm-hmm.
Obviously you're a bundle of joy with this information here, Henry, bringing us a lot of good news.
Yeah, I don't get invited to many parties.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm all cheered up right now. But how are we going to stop these freaks? What kind of action we need to take?
Well, I think we're essentially powerless. I don't think there's a legal way to stop them. I think individuals have to find their own ways of resisting, but I do think that supporting populist movements like Trump or the new Italian government, or the governments in Hungary and Austria and Poland, I think that's a good. And then I'm very encouraged by the election of Doug Ford in Ontario. Mm-hmm. He kicked out a lesbian who was basically grooming children in the public schools for pedophiles. Mm-hmm. I mean, she got blown out, and she's no longer. They're not even a political party anymore. Right. And this election was on the 7th. So I am encouraged, and I do encourage people to act within normal political channels. I'm just not horribly optimistic, but all we can do is fight.
So are you saying that Washington D.C. is just filled with a bunch of ankle grabbers?
What are ankle grabbers?
Well, hang on. Hey, we need to go commercial break here. No, that's what goes on in prison, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've.
It's
inside joke. Washington,
okay, yeah,
DC, so I'm not going to pronounce.
Move on from the ankle grabber joke there.
DC, but we live in a very corrupt society.
Yeah, well, what I just said is about as corrupt as you get. All right, so listen. All right, so we've got we've got the Illuminati coming on. What is the role of Freemasons? Are they in on this thing too?
Absolutely. Freemasonry is Satanism or Kabbalism. Kabbalism is a Jewish Satanism. and they basically set up Freemasonry for the Gentiles. So all the Gentiles who want to get in on this racket, which is the central banking cartel and their monopoly on credit, all the Gentiles who want to get ahead are basically go into Freemasonry and pretend that they're a fraternal organization, but they're essentially selling out their society. They're selling out Christianity. They're selling out their civilization. Mm-hmm. They're basically opportunists who who network and get ahead in the same way as Jews do. But a lot of Gentiles couldn't get in on this Jewish network, so they set up one for the Gentiles. Mm-hmm. All the politicians, most of the politicians are Freemasons. Most of the Supreme Court judges are Freemasons. Most of the police are Freemasons. It's the deep state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's very interesting that you don't hear much criticism of Freemasonry or even much mention of Freemasonry, even in conspiracy secret circles. Mm-hmm. They tend to want to blame the Jews, but for some reason nobody wants to step up and and expose the Freemasons.
Well, obviously, when they get rid of finish off the nuclear family, and then you got Heather has 3 daddies, and Billy has 2 mommies and some hybrid dog woman,
right?
Mix between got one of them running the show over there. I mean, what is the so-called family then? Is it going to be only for the Illuminati, or are they destroying their own family too and going with that kind of stuff there?
Yeah, I think their own families are. I'm not quite sure what's happening with their own families, but I think that they're suffering the consequences as well. But I'm a little more optimistic about the nuclear family because just on the basis of where I live in a neighborhood that's just full of young married couples with young children. I mean, it's a regular incubator, and so I'm not. I'm not convinced they're going to be successful. I think people know instinctively, especially women, that the nuclear family is the best way to raise children. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another aspect of their assault is the migrants. That's huge. Mm-hmm. And also miscegenation, where they're basically trying to make whites a minority in their own countries. Right. This was never a political issue. It's never been debated. But now if you look at all television commercials, they're mixed race families, white men with black children, black wives. You look at all the commercials.
Now you're not saying that's a bad thing, are you?
Yeah, I am. What I mean is, I don't mind if it happens. I believe love is, should trump everything. Yeah. But I think it's a bad thing when it's a Satanist agenda. When it's someone else's agenda to make whites a minority, and in fact, in their own countries, I think that's, they have a reason for doing that because they don't want, as I said, they don't want any cohesion. I've been married to a Filipina. Like, I'm not a racist.
Okay.
And my own wife is.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. We have this question. It says, what do you think about South Carolina making it illegal to criticize Jews in Israel?
Well, that's the thing. Both the Zionists and the communists generally, soft pedal Israel. Like, how would any other country in the world get away with shooting demonstrators, unarmed demonstrators with army snipers?
Are these the demonstrators that's firing rockets?
No, not the demonstrators.
Is it the demonstrators
the
burning
Israelis are going to come out with some excuse. The Gaza, the Palestinians have pop guns compared to, F-22s, fighter jets.
Well, they also
there's no comparison in terms of power. Anyway, those demonstrators were not armed, and they were snipers shooting.
They sure are a bunch of agitators. What are you going to do with them? Hit them with a water cannon?
don't do anything, you know. And if
Give 'em
they
a big
get
old
in,
hug.
if they cross the fence, they're demonstrating in Gaza.
But isn't the
If they
Palestinians a
get
bunch of
across the
Jew
fence,
haters?
you simply round them up and return them.
Aha, you round them up, huh? That don't sound very good, Henry. I mean, are we talking about like a big scoop like in Soylent Green, scoop them up? That's my personal choice. If you ever seen Soylent Green, get a big old scooper, scoop in Palestinians, scoop them up, throw them in the back, and haul them back to whence they came.
So you're in favor of shooting these people?
No, I said scoop them up. I didn't, and you could turn them into Soylent Green, but I'm just saying at least scoop them up. Nobody gets hurt. You got a bunch of them crammed together in a little space. I mean, they all hugging each other.
The bottom line is nobody could get away with what the Israelis did and are doing to the Palestinians. Mm-hmm. So obviously they've got some kind of free pass.
Yeah. Hey, tell me one product the Palestinians make.
Pardon me?
Tell me one product that the Palestinians make. Do they make baskets? Do they make cell phones? What do they make over there? What do they build?
Well, they take care of themselves. They're in the Gaza. They're fishermen.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Now I've seen the trains full of fruit and vegetables heading into Palestine, so I'm not sure they take care of themselves. Seems to me the worldwide is financing their existence because they wouldn't exist unless the world was paying them millions of dollars. I mean, what do they do for money besides throwing stones and rockets into Israel? I don't get it.
The bottom line is they were basically routed out of their homes, farms, and businesses by the Zionists and cooped up in this little strip of land by the Mediterranean.
Why don't they go back to Saudi Arabia?
If that was done to anybody, anybody would be in a similar predicament.
Well, it seems to me that Israel is in that predicament because they're a little bitty sliver of land in a giant wasteland of Muslim territories.
Well, we disagree because Israel is like probably the fifth most powerful military power in the world.
No, if you look, we're talking geographic.
Look,
I was talking geographically, though.
I've lived in Israel. They are not. They might pretend to be weak. They are extremely strong.
No, I didn't say they were weak. What I said was geographically, they have a very small sliver of land, right? Compared to the vast Muslim countries surrounding them.
Well, I don't see all these Muslim countries coming to the aid of the Palestinians.
And why not? They hate theirself?
I don't know what their problem. I don't know why they don't. I'd like to see the Palestinians get more help.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then they return to their loving ways. But what is it about the Palestinians teaching the little kids like how to cut the throat of Jewish people? I mean, is that good? Or?
That's Zionist propaganda, and that's the kind of thing Zionists teach their own children.
So some Zionists got to me, huh, Henry?
I think so. I think you've fallen under their influence.
Now I'm just trying to look at it. I'm trying to look at it rationally, and
I'm Jewish, and I tried to make Aliyah. Now that means I tried to become an Israeli, and I'm pretty familiar with the Israeli arguments. But Israel was started. Its goal is not to be a homeland for the Jewish people. It's essentially an extension of the central bankers' power. Mm-hmm. The Rothschilds are on their banknotes. Mm-hmm. The Rothschilds paid for their legislature, which is called the Knesset. The Rothschilds designed their Supreme Court. Israel is intended to be a capital of the New World Order. The Rothschilds really don't care, are just using Jews as their tools. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But, Israel's going to be the capital of the New World Order.
Wow. And what do you think about Trump moving the embassy back to Jerusalem?
Well, that just shows that he's beholden to the Zionists, and that's really a big part of his power base.
Who was the very first original occupants of Jerusalem? Who founded that city, Henry?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the three world religions claim to be its capital. I would think that would be some kind of little tidbit of information we ought to know about. But I do know that that there are writings that go way, way back that indicate Israel always had Jerusalem as either its capital or one of its main cities. I don't know. It seemed like the Palestinians just kind of popped on the scene around 1940 or so.
I'm trying to understand. In 1900, roughly 90% of the population of Palestine were Palestinians. The Israelis will want you to believe they didn't have a country, but they did. I don't, I'm a Jew, but I consider myself a Khazar. I don't believe that my ancestors ever lived in Israel. I believe my ancestors came from the region north of Turkey and the Caucasus in the Ukraine. I don't believe Jews have any claim to Israel, whatever.
Wow. That's interesting.
But I'm not, wait a second, I'll go on and say, I don't believe that Israel should be destroyed. I believe in it's a fait accompli now. I believe in the two-state solution. I think the Jews and the Israelis and the Palestinians could live together and prosper easily. But the problem is that the extremists like Netanyahu are essentially, their agenda is to expand, and they tried to expand into Syria using ISIS as their proxy, but they Putin put a stop to that.
Yeah, well, a lot of weird stuff going on there for sure, and it seems to me that the whole Middle East is a big giant hellhole, man. They're always fighting and blowing each other up. I don't know. It's been going on for thousands of years, Henry. It sounds like it's going to be going on for thousands more years. But it sounds to me like you want to be the peacemaker between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
It seems to, did you say I want to be the peacemaker?
Yeah, it seems like you would be a good peacemaker. You seem to understand both sides very well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like, there's no, both sides would really prosper if they, the trouble is that the Israelis seem to have a lot of trouble giving the Palestinians anything. They're taking over the West Bank. There's hardly, if they would just let the Palestinians have their own place, their own country, I think both countries would really prosper, and the whole Middle East would prosper.
Is Jared Kushner, is he one of them daggone Jews? Is he a Jew?
Are you kidding? Of course he is, and he's one of these Jewish extremists who are backing the settlements that are basically populating the West Bank, so that the Palestinians in the West Bank only have their cities like Nablus and Ramallah.
Well, I want to know who's setting up the movie scenes to spread false videos of little children saying they're going to kill the Jews if they see them, man. All right, well, let's move on then, because we got just a little bit more time left to go. So we got you say the Illuminati is brainwashing in mass the people of the United States. You think this 5G network is a Sabbatean plot?
I don't know. I mean, I retweet stories about that on my site, my Twitter feed, but I don't have any special knowledge of that. But just look at the way the media in the United States behaves, and the way they treat Trump, who was elected by the majority of Americans, yet they seem to have such contempt for the will of the people. And we're talking about 90% of the media, with the exception of Fox. You've got to realize that the media have totally discredited themselves, and they're totally run by the Soros communists. And I don't know how Americans, and the same applies to Canadians, can have any faith in the media, especially in Canada. The government-owned radio, the CBC, constant propaganda, constant social engineering.
Yeah, I have no use for Canadians, because they're always doing that, there it says they got some.
This whole trade dispute is really going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Well, obviously, like Trump said, the world has been using America like a piggy bank, and Canada, they've been doing it for a long time. And
this may be true, but the thing is, the U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency, and they basically created it out of nothing. So in a way, the United States is getting all these products from all over the world and giving in return this paper, which may not be backed by anything.
Who's that little kid they got running Canada now?
Yeah, Justine Trudeau.
Justine.
That is a real embarrassment.
Is that a girl's name?
Yeah, Justin Trudeau, but he's so effeminate. We call him Justine.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. But I tell you what, a good thing about that is I understand that a lot of immigrants have decided to leave the United States and go to Canada. At first, Canada was saying, "Hey, we have the moral superiority. We welcome all immigrants." Then he started draining them of their economy and their services. Now
No,
they're saying,
there's
wait a minute, we were just kidding, man. You're going to have to do something. What kind of hypocrite freaks they got running that country up there? Besides that little boy.
there's a difference between immigrants and migrants, isn't there? I mean, migrant is someone who just decides to come to your country. All my life, you had to, you had to apply to immigrate to a country. Now all of a sudden, you just show up and you're treated like a king. I don't like that.
Somebody said that he might call him Nadine Trudeau, but anyway, I think I saw the boy dancing one time. It's pretty rude, man. I mean, he might want to take a dance with Obama, probably same ilk. But all right, so we got to deal with these folks somehow. I mean, so you think if we vote these Sabbatean Kabbalists out of here, or how are we gonna get rid of them? How are we gonna get rid of this kiker sore looking bunch of freaks?
I don't know. I mean, they're
Man.
ensconced. They're ensconced.
Yeah.
I mean, you try passing
that.
a law that nobody can become a senator or congressman if he's a Freemason. Just try to pass a law like that. I mean, it would go nowhere. They're ensconced. I'm sorry, I don't see a way out. It's like society's got a severe case of cancer. I think the best thing is that the people, if the people know, then they can play any games they want, but at least they won't have our minds. At least our minds will be our own.
Well, if there's anything left of their minds, as we said here at the beginning of the show, you suggested that there's a mass brainwashing going on. But the person that's brainwashed into the New World Order via Illuminati, they're not going to know that, are they, Henry? How are they going to break free out of this matrix?
Well, Satanism is self-destructive, and I think as people realize they're in a dead end, the smart ones are going to turn around and go the other way.
All righty. Final question here. We're talking about the Jews and they're sort of taking over various things. Is there a such thing in your mind, Henry, of a good Jew, and what does that person look like? What does that person do?
Me. I'm a good Jew.
You're the good Jew.
Because I'm an assimilated Jew. I came to Canada when I was 1 year old, and I essentially identify with the interests of the majority of Canadians. And if I was an American, I'd identify with the interests of the majority of Americans. And I work, I work and put myself in some jeopardy in order to sound the alarm. And I'm not the only one. There's about a half dozen of us who are honest. And in the past, there were some great Jews like Myron Fagan, who tried to alert his fellow Americans to the dangers of communism. So yeah, there are good Jews, but Jews like Freemasons are used by the central bankers as instruments, and that's how they get ahead. And while they're getting ahead, they don't really have many qualms. But there are principled Jews, just like there are principled Freemasons who quit Freemasonry when they realize what they're engaged in.
Well, maybe we get a hold of them bankers, because I want the bankers to give my money back. Hey, by the way, I thought I read George Soros said that his sinister plans are not working out. Did you read that? I think maybe today or yesterday it came out. He admitted himself.
Yeah, well, in a way, it's true. I mean, they've lost Italy. I think it's a matter of time before the EU breaks up.
They lost Austria too, or they're losing Austria. And Hungary's trying to get out of that thing.
I think the EU will break up, and then Spain, the government just changed. I'm not quite sure what that means for the EU, but Europe is in trouble.
Well, I'll tell you what, I canceled my vacation plans at Europe, man. I'm not going over with a bunch of head hackers.
Yeah, well, the publicity coming out of Europe is so bad. It's amazing tourism hasn't been affected more.
It should be. All right. Well, Henry, we're right at the end of the broadcast. Anything you'd like to say about your website, which I have in our background right now?
Yeah, well, thanks for that. It's henrymakow.com, Makow. And it's been going for 18 years, and it's basically bearing witness to the truth. That's my ideal. If I'm wrong about anything, I'll admit it, because I don't care about being right. I care about the truth.
Henry, before we go though, you said some things that would be considered edgy. Do you ever fear for your own safety?
No, I don't. For the people that they seem to whack are the insiders, people with firsthand knowledge, or people with power. They don't seem to whack researchers.
Okay. All right, Henry Makow, appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast.
Thanks a lot, Daniel.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.